We've shown you recently how the rental market is heating up. Thousands of families are on the hunt for a new home, so if you own a rental property, surely you'll end up with the very best tenants, right? Well, that's what Natalie O'Connor thought. She went overseas for 2 years, leaving her house in the hands of property management company Ray White. But she's come home to up to $70,000 worth of damage. The house is contaminated with pee, and she and her daughter have nowhere to live. Shortly, the CEO of Ray White fronts up live, but first, Jahan Casanada with a property deal that's gone distinctly low rent.
So this is some of the stuff that they just left behind, and they've drawn on the gate there.
And you've got a swastika on the wall back there as well. That's
on the
a nice
outside,
touch.
On the outside that apparently the children did.
Never once have I seen a house that is trashed like this.
I've put together all of this that they just left here.
It was supposed to be property management, and to me what they've done is property mismanagement.
Now, you had a bit of a parting gift left in the garden for you here as well.
I did. There was a great big huge kitchen blade sitting in the garden just here.
And I cannot see how a professional company can say they have done excellent service on this.
This was just an ordinary spa pool without water when I left it, and this is what it looks like now.
A house that's no longer a home.
This was our dream. This is what everything we've worked for, and that's been taken away. But we have nowhere else.
When Natalie bought a house in West Auckland, she didn't want an outrageous fortune. She just wanted somewhere simple and safe.
As a single mum, I was working as hard as I possibly could to keep my house. I wasn't earning enough money, so I knew as a teacher I could go overseas, earn enough money, come back and be happy ever after.
Natalie spent 2 years in Asia, leaving the house with a big-name property manager.
I chose Ray White because they were a reputable company. I have totally changed my mind about what they offer.
The first tenants did a runner. The second were kicked out after noise complaints, but the third tenants were the worst.
There was a rifle that's sitting just up here, great big huge rifle that we got the police to come and take away.
Leaving a surprise in every corner.
My little daughter was the one, 6 years old, who could find a rifle, but my property manager who manages these houses could not.
Ray White said the house was in good nick. Well, you be the judge of that.
The first thing I noticed was a terrible smell. And then I looked at the carpet. The carpet has to go. It was disgusting. We've got sockets that have been ripped out, light fittings pulled out of the wall.
Ray White had done inspections, but their reports don't stack up. They've ticked off things that don't even exist in the house.
Sometimes they'll put ticks for the doors, it's fair. The next time there are no doors. There is no dishwasher. They ticked, yes, there's a dishwasher. In the laundry, they've ticked that the curtains and the blinds are fair. There are no curtains and blinds in here.
So, did Ray White really manage this property? The neighbours say no.
It was literally piled to the roof with just crap, rubbish.
I don't believe that someone could have come in and actually got an inspection satisfactorily completed because you could not see the house.
I don't think they were even in here, and I know that they were intimidated by the last tenants and they just left them in there.
By the time they were booted out, the damage was done.
And I actually said to the property manager, it will subside if you don't get water in the pool. You can see how disgusting this is.
Natalie's home video on the day she returned.
That had been left on all night until I got there and I turned it off.
Ray White says their inspector missed all these things because she was in a state of shock when she saw the mess.
My question is, did you deliver excellence? And they said yes.
But police say the story gets worse.
Some of the tenants were involved with manufacturing or in the sale of pee or methamphetamine.
Not surprising. The smoke detectors had disappeared. Ray White did nothing.
And there's an awful smell in here, isn't it?
It's dreadful. The smell gives you a headache. As soon as you get in here, there's something wrong and you know it.
The house is contaminated with pee. Police reckon it was manufactured here.
Inquiries revealed we had 6 extra people living at the address. They've had gang affiliation and obviously they are well known to police.
An assessor has quoted $40,000 worth of damage. Add on 20 grand for drug testing and clean-up, plus any other costs. Faced with the facts, Ray White promised to fix it.
They said they would pay for all contractors up front in order to get us into our house. That was all of the contractors.
But Ray White changed their tune, saying they would only pay for some of the damage. 2 months on, Natalie's house still hasn't been fixed or decontaminated. She and her daughter are staying with Mum.
What would he say? Keep keep on
Trying.
I went to Housing New Zealand, who said because I own a house, I'm not allowed to have any funding. If my mother wasn't here, I don't know where I'd live.
You can do it.
I don't have $70,000. I have no job right now because I have been trying to get my house.
Natalie has insurance, but there can be no payout if a property has been mismanaged.
What sort of future are you looking at?
I have to try and get a job overseas again in order to have my piece of New Zealand paradise.
So what about those last tenants? Well, they haven't returned our calls and we hear they're no longer in Auckland. But someone who is here tonight is the CEO of Ray White, Kerry Smith. Look, Mr Smith, you look on your website, it says, we'll protect your investment, care for your property, manage excellent tenancies, improve your financial return. Yep. You haven't delivered on that, have you?
No, we haven't. We've fallen short in regards to this management, and we've not done what we've said we would do.
Look, you heard Natalie, they went to you guys, but you're not a fly-by-nighter, you're a reputable company. How can this happen?
Well, I think in the context of the management, part of the tenants, there are tenants in this property, so it is an investment property. How it happens is principally because of the tenants. Now, there's events that would lead up to that we played a role in, and we admit that we were part of that role that this ended up occurring, but not the actual damage, which was caused by the tenants.
Sure thing, but your job, someone leaves the property in your care because they're not there to keep an eye on the tenants.
Yes.
You've got a property manager going around who they suspect never went inside because they're ticking off things that didn't even exist. Is that part of the problem? Were people too frightened to go into that house?
Well, I think that is part of the issue. There is no doubt that this property had tenants that may not have been considered desirable at any level. So that could have intimidated the property manager.
How did undesirable tenants get in there? I presume you guys are supposed to vet them.
Well, in the first instance, we did rigorous tests, which came through with reference checks and also checks through their financial background. The tenant that made the application had a previous history that was ticked off and that was agreed to in regards to that person taking tenancy. Now, the people that ended up in the property were different to the person who rented the property.
The neighbours said they could see, looking at the house, this thing was turning into a junk pile. They said they alerted Ray White's.
Yes.
What happened?
Well, they did alert Ray White. They alerted our property manager on the 21st of November. We attended the property on the 22nd of November, and subject to that inspection, we actually served a breach notice on the tenant. But we need to do that within the framework of the Residential Tenancies Act, and we did that at that time the following day.
What is that? Look, just explain to me. You discover someone's in there who was dodgy, who was wrecking the place.
Yes.
How soon can you get them out?
Well, under the Residential Tenancies Act, it is 90 days. If you discover that somebody is the tenant that is not the tenant that's in the property, you can serve a breach notice, and that breach notice, if not complied with, can be 14 days.
OK, you guys accept you didn't do the job that you believe your company should have done?
Well, I think in the part between when we're alerted to the property and the end result, we have not done the job that we should have.
But you look at the history of the tenancy, it doesn't make good reading, does it? Right through.
The history of this particular tenancy?
Well, since you've been looking after the place for 2 years, correct?
3 years, yes.
3 years. One lot skipped without the rent, the other one got kicked out for noise, and then they've had the problems here.
Yes.
If you accept you didn't live up to your side, to the excellence that your company prides itself on, what are you going to do about it?
Well, we've got to get better testing. We do 14,500 properties in New Zealand. We facilitate 18,000 rentals per year. We've got to get better. We've got to get better checks. We've put those in place, and they need to be reviewed in the broader sense of those tenants.
What about Natalie? What are you guys willing to do for Natalie?
Well, we've already promised Natalie that we will agree to pay for the repairs. Now, in regards to the decontamination of the property, the report has come through, but that is still subject to insurance. OK, the insurance company is saying if property management fails, they don't pay out.
Yes. Will you tonight say you will make up whatever the difference is between what her insurance will cover and what she is going to be missing out on? Well, provided we have input into that, yes, I will. So you'll put your firm's reputation on the line and say tonight Natalie will not be left out of pocket by this experience?
Well, Natalie had the opportunity to take insurance. To de-risk the property.
But she had her own insurance. I mean, the thing is, and you're a professional, so I just want to get from you tonight, yes, you'll see Natalie Wright.
We will see Natalie Wright in the context of the stakeholders, which are the insurance companies, the tenant tribunal, and also Ray White's role in getting this fixed.
OK, well, we'll be keeping an eye on this. I do appreciate you coming and at least fronting up.